Where are Jess and Ronnie? We said the far-fetched snake on the porch story might be a sign or a symptom of other tall stories in the fabric of this case. That's an example of intertextuality. If excuses are made, if brandishing a weapon at a reporter is covered up using verbal staging, and again, note the use of the word if that is what happened, could that be the tip of the iceberg? Now, what if we use Ronnie's disappearance, because Ronnie is also missing, right? Ronnie and his mother, as it happens, have also vanished off the radar. If we use that as an analogy for Gus, does it work? Does it offer any insights? Now, think about this just in a really basic way. Do we know where Ronnie is? Do we know where Jess is? And it seems like quite a lot of effort has gone into them disappearing, and as a result, we don't know where they are. But the fact is, we don't know what happened to them in the same way we don't know what happened to Gus. And so, can one draw any inferences from that?
I got nightmares in my head, I fear thoughts build up until I can't feel. My mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper. I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Hello and welcome to True Crime Rocket Science. Now here's what I'm getting at, and it's a hypothesis, a thought experiment, an idea, nothing more. 6 weeks after Gus disappeared, as a matter of fact, Ronnie and his mother have disappeared as well. We don't know where they are, and the media don't seem to know either. It makes sense that Jess would be staying with Josh, doesn't it? Especially since he's got a job now and he seems to be living in a decent family-owned place. Why wouldn't the parents be supporting one another during this period of stress and uncertainty and trauma? But I think if that were true, if they were staying together, we would have seen Jess by now, just as we've seen Josh. Now, as I say, this is speculation, but I don't think Jess or Ronnie are still at the station. Possibly we will get confirmation of that quite soon. They might be, of course, but if they aren't, and if they aren't with Josh, where are they, and why did they decide to leave? Why wouldn't Jess be with Josh if she isn't at the station? Now, if you want to accuse me here of making assumptions, you'd be right, because I am. The assumptions are that Jess isn't at the station. That's the first one, and that could be wrong. The second one is that if she's not at the station, I don't think she's with Josh either. That is also an assumption. If both of those assumptions are true, that then brings us to a third assumption, and that is the seventh clue that we've all missed, and we'll get to that in a moment. Now, before we get to that, I just received one of the best book reviews in a long time for a book I wrote on Ueli shtick. I'll put a link to that in the description. Listen to this. I recently explored Ueli, Deus ex Machina, and was deeply impressed by your meticulous reconstruction of Ueli Steck's legendary mountaineering feats and the tragic circumstances surrounding his fall on Nuptse, that's a peak right beside Everest. Your book offers readers a riveting mix of true adventure and investigative insight, from Steck's blistering Eiger Nordwan ascent to his soloist reflections and early life as a Swiss carpenter. The way you weave interviews, video links, and transcripts creates a vivid, immersive narrative that places readers on the mountains alongside Steck, feeling the tension, the precision, and danger of each climb. Beyond the adrenaline-filled feats, your deep dive into the backstory and potential underlying conflicts adds a compelling investigative angle, blending biography, adventure, and true crime methodology into a seamless reading experience. It's a masterful portrayal of a world-class alpinist and the enigmatic life behind the headlines. Well, thank you very much for that review, Angie. This narrative actually means quite a lot to me because Ueli kind of became a friend. We never met, but we did communicate quite often while we were working on this, and he ultimately, tragically, lost his life. And so this narrative kind of has a soft spot for me compared to many of the others. Then I also want to give a quick shout out to Jonna Lynn for this. Jonna Lynn, you have no idea how appreciated this was. I've just felt extremely stale and worn out of late, and this was definitely a shot in the arm, some motivation and incentive when I really needed it, so thank you. And thanks to Barbara Kirby for this. Whether your donation is $50 or $5, every bit counts. By the way, on Patreon, the minimum subscription for a long time has been $2, which is absurdly low for daily access to daily posts. It works out to less than 7 cents a day. So that is going to go up in December to $3. Meanwhile, if you are finding this analysis worthwhile, interesting, sensible, please do hit the thanks button and let's get started. So I would be interested to know if Jess left the station, when she left. Her silence, the missing boy's mother's silence, is strange, absent any additional context. Now, we don't know what she said to investigators. We don't know what investigators have asked her. Also, we don't know what investigators know. By the way, we saw something similar with the missing Sullivan siblings. The mother just disappeared. And in that case, one wonders, is she still with the stepfather? If not, why not? Now, these actions may or may not speak volumes about the true family dynamics going on behind the scenes. And in this particular aspect, these things are often very private. And, that is something that they would know intimately, and we have no idea what it is. But ultimately, actions speak louder than words. So if Jess left the station early on, and I mean, she may even still be there now, but if she isn't, and if she did leave, could that be a sign that she knows Gus isn't coming back? Could that be a sign that she knows something? And if that's the case, if she knows, what does she know, and how could she know?
She's not coming back.
Time will tell whether any of these ifs are relevant, but I can't remember when last not just one, but both parents were this apathetic to the loss of their own child. The mother still hasn't even released a statement. Now, I've investigated a number of missing persons cases, John Benet Ramsey, Madeleine McCann, as well as Laurie Vello's children, JJ and Tylee. I've actually traveled to all three of these crime scenes, those in the USA, in Colorado and Idaho, and then also Praia da Luz in Portugal. Now, in some cases, you see a failure by the parents to look for their children. And did we see this in the Summer Wells case? Did we see this with Letitia Stork? John and Patsy didn't seem to look for John Benet, besides saying they went into her bedroom. Did they look for her in the basement? Did they look for her outside? I don't think they even tried to look for her outside. It's not clear whether the McCanns looked for Madeleine either. And Laurie Vello, sure as nuts, never looked for her two kids. Why didn't Laurie look for Tylee and JJ? Well, because she knew they were dead. And it turned out they were dead, and she was later convicted of being an accessory in their murders. And in any case where someone is missing and the person doesn't really look for them, you've got to wonder, isn't it because they know what happened to that person? And I think this is a question that I think could potentially apply in the Karen Reed case. What were Karen Reed's actions after she left her friend? Now, we don't know enough details about this case to be able to say one way or another whether family members have searched for Gus besides Josh. Did Shannon search for Gus immediately after he disappeared? If so, where? What happened that night? Well, I want to finish off by highlighting this comment. I went for a run and my 3-year-old daughter ran after me. I didn't realize, luckily my wife spotted her running down the road, but she had gone for about 1 kilometer in bare feet on a gravel road before she caught up. So yes, a small child can travel a very long distance in a very short amount of time. I believe that initial 2-kilometer search radius was far too short. Now I think what is missing from this reasoning is the time of day. I don't know if your child would have run after you if it was later in the day, and certainly I don't know for how long they would have continued to do that. So if you want to extrapolate your experience with this situation, you've got to do it in a specific way. And in this case, that would involve a series of prints on dirt. Not one was found in a 1 kilometer radius. So you can do the whole wander off scenario as much as you like, or try to make it as far as you like. The more the wandering off, the more evidence there should be. but there isn't any evidence. This is why I find it so odd how people reason. You can believe that he wandered off as far as you like, 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles, 100 miles, but there's not a single piece of evidence indicating he wandered off 1 meter or 10 meters or 100 meters. So why do you want to make it that it's further out? Anyway, that is the way I think about it. How about you? Well, I'm not going to take it further than that. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you guys next time.